Very good morning to all of you. It's really good to see you. That this part of pre-induction activity of your new MBA batch 2020 is going very smooth, and subsequently, this is a new, a new initiative that was being started by Lloyd College, in which basic sessions were taken by most of the experts regarding various important topics of management. So, in continuation with that, we move to our next lecture series today, and I welcome you all for this session as well. And the initial will be a 30-minute session, which will be delivered by me, and then we will have a 10 minutes question answer session, which can come in the chat box as whoever wants to ask the questions, right? So, let me share the screen first, and we'll begin with the session. Right. So the topic for today's discussion will be critical role of communication in the corporate world, right? And we all know that communication is the essence to survive in an organizations, to make an impact or to facilitate the growth and sustainability. But you being as budding managers, or you being as upcoming managers, have a lot of responsibility to know the actual impact wherein communication is really going to make or break situation for you. And especially given the subject, given the specialization of degree that you have chosen, and that is especially management of business administration or master of business administration. So critical role of communication is there, right? Then we start with this saying, beautiful saying, that communication is a skill that you can learn, right? Because everybody will not have the same set of communication right now, but it is a skill, or it is something which has to be acquired, or which has to be learned through various by various ways and means. It's like riding a bicycle or typing. If you are willing to work at it, you can rapidly improve the quality of every part of your life. So when I say every part of your life, it does not restrict only to professionalism, or it does not restrict to what do you call as only corporate world, or it does not refer to your only college. It has a huge impact in your personal way, right? The way you are communicating with others in a society, with your family members, with your peers, with your friends, with your other group of people whom you are having an informal relationship, you can overall improvise the quality of your work life. And it goes without saying that yes, it has a highly significant role in the corporate world as well. Why corporate world, which we will discuss in the subsequent slides and the subsequent times as well, right? We move to the next slide. That what makes communication so important, so critical, or so significant from the corporate world point of view, right? Now we understand that number one is that unless and until we don't communicate, problems cannot be solved, right? As we say that, you must be seeing my slides. Let me go to this point here, if in case I move it here, just to make it as a footnotes here. For any audience, communication is effective only when the intended message is understood, and when it stimulates desired actions or encourages the audience to think in a new ways. Effective communication yields a number of important benefits for both you and your company. So as soon as this word company comes, it means a corporate connect, right? So I'll just try to simplify this language. What is it written? It says that for any audience, no matter whom you are talking with, no matter whom you are communicating with, communication can only become effective when the intended message, जो आपकी एक proposed message थी, जो आपकी एक intended message थी, जो आपने एक mind में मन बना के सोचा था कि मुझे ये communicate करना है, वो clearly understood है, and it is encouraging action. उस चीज पे action हुआ है, right? So that is the thing, that it is giving so it is forcing, it is enforcing an action, right? Now what it is saying, that number first point is problem solving, right? Because unless and until you don't communicate, unless and until you don't speak to people, unless and until you don't inform people, unless and until you don't discuss things, your problems will remain within yourself. Zahir si baat hai, when you have a problem and you are not discussing it within your organization, neither your boss, neither your clients, neither your anyone who is a part of the formal corporate connect, the problems will remain as it is. और वो problems जिनके पास आपका खुद के पास solution नहीं है, you are looking for a solution from an external help. So number one, most important critical part of the role of communication in the corporate connect is the problem solving. Because as soon as you communicate, as soon as you try to have a brainstorming discussion, you get various options of solution which can resolve your problem. Number one. Number two is decision making. Many a times we have seen that we are caught in a dilemma, and this dilemma happens that we are probably having a multiple thinking, we are confused, or we have multiple options to choose within, or we are not very sure, is this decision good or is this decision bad, what will happen in this case, what will happen in that case, and this entire वो एक जो डिस्टर्बेंस रहती है माइंड में, दैट एंटायर इज नॉट हेल्पिंग अस टू टेक अ गुड कॉन्क्रीट डिसीजन. We are not very sure about this decision. This particular aspect is also taken care of by communication in the corporate connect, because suppose you wanted to do a market, suppose a company wants to do a new product launch, if in case I talk about from a marketing point of view, or a company wants to launch a new IPO, if I talk about from the finance point of view, right? If a company wants to adapt a digital mode setup, that is going from the information technology point of view. Now the company owner or the boss or that particular team leader or that particular supervisor is not able to take a single-handed decision. So what he calls up a meeting, he calls up for proposals, he calls up for discussions, he calls up for brainstorming sessions, and this ultimately everyone gives his or her perspectives, and which ultimately helps in to take a decision which is based on some logic, which is based on some rationale, which is supported by some examples, which is supported by some probably some good logical reasoning, and then ultimately it can have a good the decision making can be taken up. So this is number two. Then productivity. See, very clearly, unless and until I don't give my clear communication to set of my employees, or they don't know what they have to do, they are not they are not aware of their roles and responsibilities, they are not aware of their job description, they are not aware of their tasks, things in corporate world will not work, simply because they will say that we were not informed, or we were not being aware, or we were not being told of, and then they will have xyz excuses, and then blame game will all start, right? So productivity will ensure, this communication will ensure that productivity happens, everyone is very well defined, everyone is very well clear, everyone is very well probably understanding that what is her or her role, him or role, that what he or she has to do, and which and ultimately fosters the productivity. Then workflow. Then workflow is a very close contacting with the, the delegation. You must have read about delegation of authority or decentralization. Suppose A person has to get a work done from B, B has to get it from C, C has to get it from D. This is all like a whole like a flow chain, right? In which the point of aspect is that one has to understand that the workflow is being taken care of by a sequence. It's taken up by a sequence. Now then, business relationships, business 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 relationships help the communication helps the clientele to develop a connect, right? It enforces new relationships in a business, it helps new people to grow with new client, enter into new markets through ad campaigns or probably through ventures. These days you see a lot of Instagram, or you see a lot of many other things that you see are all that the main ways and means by which business relationships are being cultivated. They try to reach out to the customers through a WhatsApp, through an email, through anything else, right? So many things are happening in these contexts as well. And the same goes from the promotional aspect, promotional messages as well. Promotional messages are those promotional messages are those things in which the marketers are trying to Importantly, you know promotional messages are those things in which the marketers are trying to having up the communication up, or having the reach out to new prospective people, or just to promote their marketing. As you must be studying in marketing, four products of marketing: market, product, price, place, and promotion, right? So this is also a very important point in which the communication is trying to place. Images and brands. Images and brands means that by a certain logo, a simple Nike logo or simple Reebok logo, you are able to identify. Now, because of that image, because of the logo, because of that brand particularly, which has happened, you are able to connect with that this particular is coming from this so and so organization. A simple logo, you can identify that this is a product of a certain brand, right? Then is audience response. Suppose I am communicating with you, there's always a system called as feedback system. Feedback system is very important, that whatever is being understood is being taken care of. uh, you know uh, yeah, somebody's saying something. All right, I'll just try to fix it up. Background sound is disturbing. All right, let me check what is happening. Yeah, I just tried to fix it up. I hope it's quite better now. Right. So audience response is very important, as far as the feedback system is also going to impact how was the delivery, how was the content, how was everything else. So this is how the audience response goes in. Then we move to the next slide, which is communication skills. Now, in order to be a very good communicator, you need to have and good skills, right? And these skills can be oral, these skills can be say written, these skills can be expressions. You can talk about postures and gestures, as Dr. Purnima must have given a brief idea, or in the last session, that it is very important to have a very good personality, not in terms of looks, or not in terms of wearing branded or hi-fi clothes, or not even by just showing that show off. That is not required. That is meaning that is, you carry a very good professional image, you carry yourself very very decently, you speak very very clearly. Although I understand that English will be a concern for you in this at the starting, because most of you have come from different backgrounds. But yes, how can you improvise communication skills? That is very much important. You can read articles, you can read newspapers, you can read you can watch Hollywood movies, for that matter. You can read many other things which you can, or if in case in your friend circle also, you can communicate to each other in English, for that matter. Because in corporate, the first language is English. That is the essence. uh, in corporate world, most of the communication is being done in English language. So in that context, you have to make sure that you give a very very solid impact to the other person. That is one. You Another thing which is very important is that you cannot be a very good communicator unless and until you are not a very good listener. Okay, in order to be a very good listener, in order to be a very good speaker, you need to be a very good listener as well. Because unless and until you will not listen to people's things, you will not understand what are the problems they are facing, what are the issues they are facing, what are the queries they want to get resolved. You cannot be a very good speaker, or a oral orator as well. Now, coming to ethical communication. Ethical communication is very simple. We all of us know what is ethics. Ethics is basic values, principles, beliefs, right? Which are true in conduct, good in conduct, which are ethical in nature, in terms of their honesty, integrity, transparency, truthfulness, sincerity, right? These are some of the ways and means by which ethics can be understood. But here, what we try to make to understand is what is ethical communication. Ethical communication is probably the one in which you all of whatever you are saying is true in its nature. Then is audience centered approach. Audience centered approach is, suppose I am delivering a lecture here. I'm knowing that my student target is MBA. Tomorrow, when you are in a corporate world, in a board meeting, in a presentation, you are know that my clients, my listeners are going to be board of directors, managers, senior managers, group directors, officials, many official people. So you will devise your conduct, your create, and your design your presentation according to that standard, and not according to the standard that you are going to teach, or you are going to deliver a presentation to someone who is layman. Then intercultural sensitivity. Intercultural sensitivity is a fact that people are coming from different cultures, from north, from south, from west, from east, with different community backgrounds. We have to show tolerance. We have to show mutual respect. We have to show a mutual consensus that we can work together in a team. If we start to have if we start to have conflicts, if we start to have resistance, if we start to have a lot of negativity around us, so that will not entirely help us, the organization also, and not that will create a good credibility as an individual also. So we have tolerance, we have a patience, we have a cooperation, we have a mutual respect that can enhance good communication perspective in corporate connect. Then we talk about constructive feedback. Feedback giving is good, but constructive feedback for ways of improvement, for ways of suggestions, these days you can see a lot of companies are giving what, how did you experience us, please rate us, or something like that. They want something constructive, they want something, some important inputs to be held on, right? So those are the inputs based upon which they can improvise their performance. Then we talk about business etiquette. Business etiquette is the simple moral conduct of any business activity. It must be ethical, it must be truthful, it must be honest. Yes, whatever advertisements are being delivered, yes, please ensure that those advertisements are at least fulfilled up to a certain percentage. It's not that you are just deceiving. That is what is called as falsification or deceptive advertisements, which will come, which are not ethically right to be, because most of the companies were facing a lot of challenges because they were trying to show a lot of wrong advertisements, and ultimately their goodwill and the image got spoiled because their products and services could not live up to that, those promises what they had shown in their communication advertisements. Then technological skills. These days, communicating in a technological environment is very, very important, especially when we see in the era of COVID, in the pandemic times, we have seen that everything had moved to a transition from a traditional to a digital one. Similarly, this goes true in the core communication skills. You must be very, very skillful in terms of your communicating using digital platforms, digital technologies, whether it's a Zoom meeting, whether it's a Skype call, whether it's anything, Google Meet, whatever it may be, fact of the matter. It is very important that all the skills must be learned. Then this is simply a usage of business communication channel. It is given by one of the schools that most of the time we tend to hear listening is 45%, reading is 16%, 30% is speaking, and 9% is writing. This should be the ideal. We should try to listen more, we should try to then follow speaking more. But what we do is we speak more, we listen less, right? We read also less, and we write also less. So ideally, this may vary from person to person, but ideally listening should be a much higher component, because then you will make me a very good person to be understood, and then followed by speaking, reading, and writing, because unless and until you don't read things, you will not be able to write things in a very, very professional manner as well. Then we talk about the unethical communication. Unethical communication happens to be when you are just trying to probably just disturb the entire the whole communication slot in terms of plagiarism. Plagiarism is that you create a report, for example, in your dissertation reports or your internship reports, you copy paste a report from the internet, or in your corporate connect, you create a market research which has been created by some other company, and you are giving it your name, right? So this is very unprofessional in terms of corporate world also, and in terms of academic world also, in both the things, and in personal aspect as well, because आप किसी के काम को अपना नाम नहीं दे सकते हैं. That is very unethical, which is come under the zone of plagiarism. Then selective misquoting. You are just trying to, for gossip, for fun, or for creating a conflict, you are just trying to just say that that person had said so and so things about you, this person has said so and so things about you. Ultimately, those two persons will come to know that this person has created ruckus, or has tried to instigate us, or has to create a fight or a conflict between. These things happen in a corporate world, these things happen in a this is what we call as office politics, or office manipulation. These things has to be avoided, because in order to maintain your integrity, in order to show a good conduct of professionalism, in order to show a very good manner of behavior, all these things should be avoided. You should not inflate numbers just because finance people try to do it, that प्रॉफिट 10 रुपए का है, वो बैलेंस शीट में 100 रुपए दिखाते हैं. दैट इज अगेन वेरी इन्फ्लेटेड, बिकॉज जब ऑडिट होता है तो उसमें पता चलता है कि these all reports are inflated. So falsifying numbers should also be avoided. Distorting visuals is that your websites should have the actual product description. If in case you are a marketing product or a service based organization, you should always show true picture of your products and services, so that not to create fancy things, because many a times we see that Amazon पे जो हम product देखते हैं, it comes altogether different what is what we get in the actual deliver. So this is very, very important, that all these unethical practices have to be avoided as well. We then move to the next slide, and just a second. Audience-centered approach. Focus on the audience, care about the audience, respect the audience. These are very important things, that unless and until you don't know your market's line, you don't know your market clientele, you don't know your anything about whom you are going to deliver a presentation, whom you are going to communicate with, whom you are going to write the letters. You know that what is the content that you are going to deliver. आपको पता होना चाहिए आप क्या deliver कर रहे हैं. You know that whom you are going to listen, who will be the people who will be listening you. Care about the audience, show respect about the audience, make them understood that yes, you are there, to resolve their problems, and most importantly, respect the audience. So this is what we call as target based audience approach. आपको अपनी presentation हो, आपकी अपनी communication हो, आपका अपना जो भी content हो, भले ही वो email या SMS या WhatsApp क्यों ना हो, you have to ensure that whatever is the level of the content, whatever is the content of the words which you are trying to deliver, is being actually in line with the receptivity of that particular. ना ज्यादा overshoot करना है उनके mind को, ना ज्यादा degrade करना है. अगर आप अपने बॉस को लेटर लिख रहे हैं तो उसी लेवल का होना चाहिए, उसी स्टैचर का होना चाहिए. अगर आप अपने किसी सबऑर्डिनेट को देख रहे हैं या किसी दूसरे पीपल को देख रहे हैं who is not of much higher in the rank in the organization, so you have to actually mold in those things. So these things are very, very important when we talk about the audience centric approach. We then move to a next slide, which is feedback in the workplace, which I have also discussed. When we talk about the feedback in the corporate world, constructive feedback should be abided, because that will help important suggestions, important inputs, important assistance. That will, all these things will help it to grow. Destructive feedback में क्या होगा, आप किसी के साथ पर्सनल हो जाएंगे, आपका काम, आप कंपनी में अपना नाम खराब करेंगे, कॉर्पोरेट वर्ल्ड में आपका नाम खराब होगा, आप पर्सनल रिवेंज लेना चाहेंगे, you will try to attack on a personal basis, on a personal attack basis. So these things will make you as a pessimist type of a person, make a negativity type of a person. लोग आपसे फिर दूर भागना चाहेंगे, because you will, everybody will understand the fact that you are a negative type of a person, and you will only try to attack people on personal basis. Then today's in corporate world, what do employers expect? This is very, very important as well. Because 2 years after completion of, God willing, when you will complete 2 years of degree at MBA at Lloyd, there are certain things which are expected out of you from a communication perspective. Number one, what is the number one thing? Organizing ideas and information. Suppose in an interview, suppose in a group discussion, GD, suppose in anything, you are, the people, the recruiters, the HR team is expecting that this person is clear in his or her ideas and has the required information. वो तभी हो पाएगा जब आप अच्छे से कम्युनिकेट कर पाओगे. नो मैटर यू हैव अबंडेंस ऑफ नॉलेज, आपके पास समंदर है नॉलेज का, लेकिन जब आप उसको कम्युनिकेट ही नहीं कर पाएंगे, जब आप उसको ऑर्गेनाइज ही नहीं कर पाएंगे, जब आप उसको डिलीवर ही नहीं कर पाएंगे, वो आपके पास ही बंद रहेगा, एंड इट विल नॉट कम आउट, एंड देयर विल बी नो वन हु विल बी अवेयर ऑफ दैट फैक्टर, दैट आपके पास कितनी इंफॉर्मेशन और कितनी नॉलेज और कितने आइडियाज है. वन. सेकेंड, एक्सप्रेसिंग. जब आपने ऑर्गेनाइज किया आपको इस सब को, तो इसको एक्सप्रेस भी करना है. एक्सप्रेस अपने इमोशंस से, अपने स्पीच से, अपने एक्शंस से, अपने जेस्चर्स से, अपने पोस्चर्स, अपनी बॉडी लैंग्वेज से, that yes, you are showing you are looking confident, you are looking very strong in the subject, you are looking very familiar with this whole topic. This will make your whole sanctity as a credible speaker, as an orator, or whatever, as a communicator. It will enhance the overall effectiveness. Reading and listening very effectively, as I said, in the corporate connect, in the corporate world, communication is very very critical, and those criticality is depending on how v- efficiently you are reading and listening. Speaking और writing तो बाद में आएगा, बिकॉज जब तक आप पढ़ेंगे और सुनेंगे नहीं, आप बोल या लिख उतने efficiently नहीं पाएंगे. Right, so this is very important when we are talking about the employers expectations in the corporate connect. And that is why when we go to the slide, the theme of the today's discussion is critical role of communication in corporate world. So that is why when we say that आपको 2 साल के बाद जॉब ढूंढनी है, corporate connect में जाना है, so this is very very important that you at least read 1 hour, half hour, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, any article, any news, business news, any blog, write blogs, talk to each other, make a brainstorming discussion. All these will tend to help you. Then communicating with diverse groups, because ये नहीं कि आपने अपना एक group बना लिया, right? It is not very important that you make a group of yourself, or you just, you know, 4 लोगों का group है, 2 लोगों का group है जिनके साथ आप comfortable हो. Just, you know, it's just that simply that just because they are this is our friend circle and we will be only confined to this particular type of people. No, it's not like that. Simply it is the fact that you are just trying to be showing that you are a versatile person. You are a person who is open to all so all groups, all diversification groups, and in which your entire credibility will get enhanced, because the fact of the matter will lies that everyone will feel that you are an accessible person. आपसे बात कर सकते हैं, वरना अगर आपने अपना क्लोज एंडेड कर दिया, चार दीवारी में अपने आप को बंद कर दिया, दैट इसी पर्टिकुलर ग्रुप से बात करूंगा, इन्हीं 4 लोगों से बात करूंगा, इसके बियॉन्ड नहीं जाऊंगा. सो कल को ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में कॉर्पोरेट कनेक्ट के एस्पेक्ट से यू विल बी नॉट वेरी मच लाइक्ड, or even case you will not be even be given a lot good weightage in the organization, because they know that you are a closed ended person and you are not open to various people. So this thing has to be taken care of. And then using communicating technology, I have already explained. Then again, we continue with the corporate communication critical role. Apart from the personal benefits which I have told you, there are other benefits also. Closer ties with important communities in the workplace. Yes, because of this connect, you get to connect to various communities in the marketplace, and you are able to design this your marketing strategy, or your financial strategy, or your advertisement strategy, or your own personal HR strategy, or your, as in your own individuality. You are able to connect to yourself very very effectively and efficiently when you are having a good solid base of communication. Opportunities to influence conversations, perceptions, and trends. When you are a very good speaker, when you are a very good writer, when you are a very good communicator, you will try to definitely in a meeting, you will definitely will have an impact. आप एक impact छोड़ेंगे जिससे आपके बारे में perception बनेगा, और आप एक trend set करेंगे ताकि बाकी लोग भी आपको follow कर सके. Increased productivity and faster problem solving, which we have already discussed in the initial slides of the lecture today. Better financial results and higher return for investors. When the communication is clear, when the delegation of roles and responsibilities is clear, when everyone is very clear that who has to do what, who is the owner of certain things, then more often than not, you will be always in a successful mode, and this will always have a good return on your sales, investments, ROI, just हम return on investment कहते हैं, which all of us, this will impact very, very substantially. When you are having a very good clear formal degree of communication in your organization, you can identify early potential problems, from rising business costs to critical safety issues. राइट. व्हाट हैपेंस इज दैट कम्युनिकेशन बहुत अच्छी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में तो कुछ चीजें जो आगे होने वाली होती हैं वो पहले ही पता चल जाती हैं, बिकॉज ट्रांसपेरेंसी इज देयर, or a clear cut mechanism is there, or a well defined communication system is there that can identify the upcoming problems well in advance, so that proactive measures can be taken, and accordingly it can be resolved at the initial stage only. Then we talk about critical role. Critical role again contains stronger decision making based on timely and reliable information. Yes, because you are having a very good communication, you are having a very good integrity, you are having a very good coordination amongst all the different departments of the organization. You will be in a much good position to take a decision, which we have already discussed. Clearer and more persuasive marketing messages. Messages are clear, your marketing efforts are persuasive, marketing efforts are more persuasive. the overall efficiency of the organization will increase. Greater employee engagement with work, leading to higher employment satisfaction and lower employee turnover. What happens is that when from the HR perspective, when the communication is very strong, the employee will feel connected to the organization. Employee will feel that yes, it is not an organization, it is a part of a family for me, and I am very blessed to be a part of this cover, this organization, and entire employee satisfaction will go up. So we talked about the marketing point of view, financial point of view, information technology point of view. From the HR perspective, you see the how the different verticals of communication are related. Although it may seem that communication is a very basic and a generic thing, but the impact is widespread, and the impact is across all domains. And then yes, to conclude with today's session, that you can have brilliant ideas, but if you cannot get them across, your ideas won't get you anywhere. That's a very beautiful saying, that yes, you can have brilliant information, you can have brilliant knowledge, you can have brilliant ideas, you can have whatnot, but unless and until those are not communicated, or those are not enhanced, or those are not put across, those ideas will not get you anywhere. So this is the whole significance of this the essence of the communication. And now we start with some questions which are coming in the chat box. Yes, there's a question here. What is the best way to communicate, and what skills are required in the corporate world? Okay, that's a very nice question. See, there is no such best way, right? कोई ऐसा कोई मतलब मंत्रा नहीं है. There are certain guidelines. The question it is saying that what is the best way to communicate and what are the skills required. Fundamentally, there is no best way. This is wrong or this is bad. But yes, there are a couple of do's and don'ts. Right? Those and don'ts are, I will just, as I said in the presentation also, and I will repeat. Number one, you need to be a very good listener, because unless and until first you don't understand what the other person is trying to ask answers for, or what is trying to resolve the issues, you will not be able to get to that particular thing. One. Second is that having the required information, having the required knowledge, having the required skill set, उसके बारे में आपको पता होना चाहिए कि मुझे जो ये पूछा जा रहा है, क्या मेरे को इसके बारे में नॉलेज है या नहीं है, और अगर नहीं है तो उसके बारे में नॉलेज पहले गेन करें. 2. 3, then you have to ensure that you have at least a good language communication. Probably अगर आपकी English बहुत ज़्यादा अच्छी है, ठीक है, you can go ahead with English and you can start up with the English as a language. But if in case your English is not that strong, you can use Hindi or any other language, which in case you can want to sustain that, you can जो उसको उसके deficit को cover up कर सकता है, and then accordingly this can go again. Fourth is network building. Then how you can just network around people, how you can be very good in your team, how you can be very good in your group. And then that जब आप अपने group के साथ अच्छे होंगे तो वो word of mouth spread होगा that yes, this is a very good person to communicate with, and the entire organization will like it to you. The next question is, sir, how can we practice communication better? Very important question. Yes, we have to communicate. We have to in order to make communication better, we have to practice with your friends in English. We have to practice. We have to do a lot of mirror reading. Mirror reading is what another question is also. What is the best way to enhance communication skill? Okay, this is another question. This is also a similar question. What are the advantages of good writing? Okay. So I will, couple of questions have come. I will now understand this how to make communication better and enhance communication skills. So mirror reading के बारे में बात कर रहा था. Mirror reading is such thing that in which you take a piece of article, or you take a piece of any blog or whatever, or you write on your own, and then you just try to see in front of mirror. Just read it in front of mirror. That see how you are लुकिंग. कैसा लग रहा है आपको, अपने आप को देख के कैसा लग रहा है कि आप कैसा बोल रहे हैं, कैसे दिख रहे हैं आप पढ़ते हुए, बोलते हुए, सुनते हुए, राइट? आई मीन जस्ट ट्राई टू विजुअलाइज. बिकॉज जो जब आप पहले जब जाएंगे बाहर डिलीवर करने, उससे बेटर है पहले आप अपने आप को खुद ही एसेस करें एक पहली बार कि हाउ जस्ट you are looking in the entire situation. So mirror reading is very important in this bit. Then another question is here, what are the advantages of good writing skills, how it can be used effectively? Yes, writing के लिए मैंने आपको very clearly बोला, जब तक आपकी वोकैबुलरी इंप्रूव नहीं होगी, जब तक आपका स्किल वही वो बच्चों वाला इंग्लिश नहीं लिखना है जो स्कूल में या 12th में लिखते थे या बैचलर्स में लिखते थे, मास्टर्स लेवल में आपको अपनी राइटिंग स्किल्स के लिए मैंडेटरी रीडिंग करनी है. कोई भी बिजनेस न्यूज उठाइए, कोई भी अखबार उठाइए, बिजनेस की, पॉलिटिक्स को छोड़ दीजिए, लीव अलाउंड लेट अलोन द पॉलिटिक्स गो असाइड. Focus on the corporate world, focus on the companies, focus on the marketing strategies, focus on the financial strategies, read about them, read about the articles. There are so many blogs, follow the business news, corporate news, इकोनॉमिक टाइम्स पढ़िए, उसकी वोकैबुलरी समझिए, हर दिन एक एक आर्टिकल पढ़िए, उस जो उसमें से नए वर्ड्स आ रहे हैं उसको अपनी लैंग्वेज में इनकॉर्पोरेट कीजिए, एंड देन यू कैन डेवलप अ न्यू बेस ऑफ वर्ड्स which you can enhance in the writing skills, and then it can be very very used effectively. Then another question is that how can we know that our audience is satisfied with the presentation or not? Obviously, when you enter in the presentation, suppose for example you have to answer them questions that what is the receptivity, आपको खुद ही समझ आ जाएगा that have they understood through their body language, or give them a feedback form, simple, that how did you rate the presentation, what did you understood, what not did you understood, right? And what are the things what you did not understood and why did not you understood. So all these things are very very important, in which the entire things can be identified, that whether our presentation was successful. And आपको खुद भी समझ आ जाएगा that whether my people as a presentation has been successful or not by the way you have delivered it. But yes, feedback is very very important to know that whether the presentation is there or not. Sir, how to get from the nervousness during discussion? Yes, nervousness is a very big problem. Stage fear, public fear, हाथ कम कमाना, trembling होना, it's very much common, and these things I have heard, seen, faced, and many people have overall resolved this entire problem over the last so many years through my teaching experiences. Practice. There is no other alternative than to this. You need to practice. You need to do a lot of reading. You need to do a lot of writing, a lot of mirror reading, a lot of practicing, a lot of communication with your family members. अभी तो जब आप कॉलेज आ जाओगे तो फिर कॉलेज के साथ अपने फ्रेंड्स सर्कल के साथ कम्युनिकेट कर लेना. But there is no other than alternative to इसको ओवरकम करने के लिए सिर्फ एक ही उपाय है, and that is practice. Sir, is language barriers play important role in ineffective communication? See, आप language barrier बंदा हिंदी जानता ही नहीं है और आप उससे हिंदी में बात कर रहे हो, इट्स जस्ट लाइक यू आर टॉकिंग टू अ फॉरेनर इन हिंदी लैंग्वेज whereas he only knows in English. So obviously language barrier will come. So you have to make sure that person who is आप वही language use करो जो उस बंदे को knowledge होगी, and that only will can make if communication much more clearer and effective as well. Sir, how to improve communications for the corporate world? I think I have answered these questions: reading, writing, if importantly practicing, listening, be a good listener. All these things which were discussed in the presentation and in the past answers also have been discussed. Sir, how can we create ideas to communicate or express it so well? All right, this is a good question again. So, for example, creativity, see, you are all a different individuals. In that case, because probably many people are there who are thinking on different verticals. आप जैसा सोचोगे A person वैसा नहीं सोचेगा, B person वैसा नहीं सोचेगा, C नहीं वैसा सोचेगा. सबका माइंडसेट अलग है, सबकी सोच अलग है, सबका देखने का नजरिया अलग है, पर्सपेक्टिव अलग है, ओपिनियंस अलग हो सकते हैं, सब कुछ अलग है. तो उस चीज को हमें क्रिएटिविटी में यूज करना है, और वो चीज जब आपकी क्रिएटिविटी में यूज हो सकती है वो कम्युनिकेशन में भी यूज हो सकती है. यू कैन एक्सप्रेस सर्टेन थिंग्स in a creative manner to a certain particular set of people or your friends or your bosses. So again, it all depends how creatively you can design it, because all of you are very very different individuals, and focus on your creativity so that you are able to communicate more expressively and more effectively and more clarity and with much uniqueness. Any more questions? Yeah, two questions. Can we use simple language while communicating, or do we need to use high level words? No, it is not always too advisable to use high level words. बंदे को उतनी knowledge ही नहीं होगी high level words की. ये depend करता है आप किसके साथ communicate करते हैं. अगर कोई बहुत ज्यादा important height stature का बंदा है, बहुत ज्यादा मतलब उसका background वैसा है, तो then you can raise up the standard. Basic set of language अपने level पे या अपने peers level पे, that is fine. उससे बेसिक लेवल से स्टार्ट करोगे तो आपका एक कॉन्फिडेंस डेवलप होगा, फिर धीरे धीरे करके आप उसको अपग्रेड कर सकते हो, उसको एनहांस और एनरिच कर सकते हो, सो दैट you can just pick it up. But straight away going to a high level is not much feasible, because then किसी को कुछ बात समझ ही नहीं आएगी. What kind of creativity can we do? You can do many sort of creativity brainstormings. You can do, suppose you just take up when you will join a college officially in physical mode, do a GD yourself. अपने 4-5 लोगों का ग्रुप बनाइए, कोई GD टॉपिक उठाइए, अपना हर एक अपना अपना ओपिनियन उठाइए. आजकल ईवीज के बारे में काफी ओपिनियन चल रहा है. किसी ने ईवी के बारे में उसके एडवांटेजेस बोल दिए, उसकी डिसएडवांटेजेस बोल दी, उसके बेनिफिट्स बोल दिए. हर एक की क्रिएटिविटी बाहर आ गई, हर एक का थॉट प्रोसेस अलग बाहर आ गया. सो एंटायर थिंग इज coming out. Sir, is communication skills will increase our personality? Obviously they will increase our personality. Why not? Because when you are having a very good communication, your personality will also develop. Sir, when I used to explain anything, suddenly I communicate and speaking so when I used to explain anything, suddenly in communication I start speaking fast. कोई नहीं, pause लेके ठहराव से, कोई जल्दबाजी नहीं है. बी अ वेरी स्टडी मैच्योर पर्सन, बी अ वेरी रीजनेबल पर्सन. कोई आपके पीछे ट्रेन नहीं छूट रही जो आपको इतना स्पीड अप होकर कम्युनिकेट करना है. ठहराव लेके, पॉज लेके, मैच्योरली, जस्ट सिस्टमैटिकली यू कैन जस्ट have a very good paced sessions. Sir, does practicing in circles with each other could matter? But yes, it does, provided you have good friends who don't make mockery out of you, or who don't make fun out of you, who do it on a serious basis. It will definitely win. Sir, when will classes be started? This is a question which is always coming up to me. I think by the next August में शायद शुरू हो ही जाएंगे. This is as per the AKTU notification. I think this is the last question now. Is communication the most important or basic? Is communication the most basic or most important when it comes to the it is the most important, not the basic one, Naman. It is the most important one, because unless and until you don't communicate in a corporate world very important nicely, you cannot just have the entire significance of it. So with that, we concluded today's session. Thank you so much, and I respect you, and I thank you for coming here to this this webinar, and really delighted to see you all with so much of questions. There were around 20 to 30 questions which have been there in the last 10 minutes. Thank you so much, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.